Hey BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and this is going to be another reading literary update. That's going to be kind of the same thing as the last one. We're just updating you on my what's going on with now that Victober is started, and also a little bit of another tiny haul. So, because I'm not one of those people who will do a buy a whole, 10, 20 books at once. I'll buy them, like 3 or 4 books. I mean, if I could get away with buying, 6 or 7, then I would. But, I can't, because, I work at a grocery store, so I don't get paid. I don't get paid the way, people who work in offices do. So I gotta be careful, and I cannot spend, and I also don't have, a significant other who will, spoil me or something, so. But anyway, it's Victober has officially started yesterday, actually. Unfortunately, my Victober, I didn't get a lot of reading done yesterday. I did get a little bit of reading done in the morning. But then I got sidetracked because I made an order on thrift books, which I will show you in a little bit. And I kind of it did not, and I started getting a little nervous because I just realized that, it was that people have said in the past that with thrift books, because it's a used bookstore, there is a possibility you might not get the best. You might not get exactly what you want, or at least the condition won't be perfect, which I don't care about the condition of the book, as long as it's readable, and, I'm fine. If there's a little bit of dirt on there, you can wipe that off. And, yeah, I get a little irked when the pages are a little folded over, not just because someone dog-eared the book to save their spot, but that somehow the corners got folded. Like they were dog-earing, but it's not. I'll have to show you with one of the books I got. So I was very nervous, and I tend to freak out and get really frustrated and upset when things might not, about certain things that, most people probably think I was overreacting, or at least my mom thought that. But when I find out I don't know what's going to happen, if things are going to go my way, then I get a little anxious and upset. And I was worried that I wouldn't get what exactly I asked for, because I asked for specific editions. They were classics, and at least 2 of them were. I got 3 books. And they were, and the 2 of them I got were classics, and I wanted a specific edition. And I was worried that, I might not get that edition. So I was very anxious about it, and I have to wait. And when I get anxious about something, it's all I can think about, unless I find something that can really distract me completely. Like, if I go for a run, that's not enough of a distraction, because I can think too much about it. But if I'm watching videos on YouTube or watching one of my favorite shows, then that's mindless enough that it can eventually distract me. But so I will show you that purchase in a little bit, those three books. But I'm currently, as far as October, I decided to go ahead and start with this one because it's short. This is the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The whole title, most people probably know, is The Curious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But most people, I think, know it as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I've noticed something with a lot of classics, and then when they become movies, that, especially with horror classics, they change it so much that the story is just so, they have the basic premise, but the story is so completely different. We barely get so far, I've barely gotten any of his encounter, seeing him become Mr. Hyde and stuff, and all we get is these 2 guys talking, and they're talking about their encounters with Mr. Hyde and their concerns for Dr. Jekyll because, he's so reclusive and he will hide. And of course, they don't know what's really going on. They don't understand. So it's not. And also, my other problem is reading a horror book because I'm so used to TV shows and movies and the sound effects and the makeup and, seeing the actor's performance. And, my imagination, as I've said in the past, is not that good. I mean, it's good. Like, I can still picture everything as I'm reading it, but then I can't. It does books. When I read a horror book, it doesn't scare me. I'm like desensitized, and I'm so, like I said, I'm so used to TV shows and movies. I'm spoiled by them. I didn't grow up, as much as I love reading, I didn't grow up reading horror books. So it doesn't affect me. But it's still a good book. It's still very interesting to read. It's just very different from the brief glimpses of the story I've gotten. Like, I've never seen an actual adaptation of the actual story, but I'm familiar with, like, in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he was one of the characters. Dr. Jekyll and Hyde were one of the characters. And there was another, I think there's another source. Oh, Mary Riley. I saw that one too. I've seen bits and pieces. I think it might have been Christina who had the movie with Mary Riley with John Malkovich as Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde and what's her name? Julia Roberts. I was gonna say Juliana, but no, that's Juliana is the name of her character in My Best Friend's Wedding. Which is a really funny movie, by the way. And it's kind of interesting because yes, it's more. I think it's a little more realistic when it comes to a love triangle. But anyway, and I didn't notice, but the way they describe Mr. Hyde is. Every time I've seen, like, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, they made Hyde into an actual, like a monster. Like, he's really big and muscular and stuff. He kind of was like the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. And, like, I've said this before, that I feel like Stan Lee was inspired by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the Hulk comic. Because it very much, makes me think of this story, the Hulk story. But the way he's described in the book, Mr. Hyde, he's kind of small. He looks like a regular sized human, but his face is a little deformed. But the rest of his body is he's described as small. Oh, and he's Scottish too. So, which I think in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the actor who voiced Hyde was Scottish. Oh wait, no, actually, I'm thinking of the Van Helsing movie. The Van Helsing movie. That's right. I think in the Van Helsing movie he is Scottish. Yeah, because that was another one that included Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Although Jekyll, I don't think we ever saw Jekyll. I think he was chasing down. Actually, no, I think we did see Dr. Jekyll, but then he didn't survive. And he was chasing, when Van Helsing was chasing down Mr. Hyde. I feel so bad for Van Helsing because he got bitched at for that. And it was like, what was he supposed to do? I mean, was he supposed to be nice to the monster and say, Mr. Monster or Mr. Hyde, can you come down here and quietly come with me? I mean, what else was he gonna do? And, the guy, Mr. Hyde, is dangerous. He's sinister and evil, so I think it's a little bit, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it was fair of the public in Paris to get mad at him for killing that guy. But then again, it's been a while since I watched that movie, but maybe they didn't know that it was, all they saw was Jekyll had been, hit by something by Van Helsing that killed him. I'm not sure, but anyway. So I am almost, so as far as this, I am, let's see, I got three more chapters to go, which is, I'm almost done with Last Night, I think, or wait, no, actually, Last Night might be the chapter that's coming up. Oh, maybe not, never mind. never mind. So I'm still on. What was the chapter that comes? Okay, so actually I have 4 more chapters to go once I'm finished with this one, which is The Remarkable Incident of Dr. Lanyon. I don't know if I'm saying the doctor's name right. But it's like basically Dr. Jekyll's his butler, his lawyer, Mr. Utterson, and Dr. Lanyon, they're all concerned about what's going on with Dr. Jekyll. They, like I said, they don't know that he is actually Mr. Hyde. They're all creeped out by Mr. Hyde and don't know what to do. And I love this. I love this cover. I think it's so cool. I always think about when I read these. I always think about how I would love to rewrite them, like do a retelling of some of these. But I don't know how that works. I don't know if if you write a retelling, do you have to go to someone? Do you have to talk to the people who own the original material and ask permission from them? If I ever wanted to write one and then get it published, would I have to tell those, talk to the people and ask them if I could retell it? But then again, it's not like I'm copying their story or I'm just taking the premise and doing an updated version of it. Although this one, obviously, like I said, has been I think the Hulk comic is a retelling of this. And I want to say there's been, but I don't, so, in which I think that's the best way to do a modern retelling of the story, because, with the character of the Hulk. But, the one I really would love to do a retelling is, let me see, somewhere over here, is this one, A Tale of Two Cities. I'm also going to read that this month because I'm meaning to reread it. Especially because, as I said in the last video, there's a love triangle in here that I would love to redo it and make it more interesting. Which I know a lot of people don't like. Most readers do not like love triangles. I mean, even Terry from Florida will say that she hates love triangles because usually the guy or the girl, well, the guy, I guess, the guy that she wants the girl to choose never wins. And, in her experience. So, I want to, but I think in this case it would make it more interesting, and maybe it could be, an improved version of a love triangle, like, because the criticisms from people other than Terry that I hear, are that with love triangles, you kind of know who she's going to choose in the end. Or who, I guess it could also, or who he's going to choose in the end. You know who the main person in the middle is going to, basically, there's an obvious endgame character. But they throw it in there for the sake of drama, the love triangle. It's like, well, maybe for once you could do it where it was unpredictable, like you didn't know. And I think Stephenie Meyer did try to do that in New Moon with Jacob, and trying to suggest that, maybe Bella would choose Jacob. And I think it's bled into Eclipse too, and yes, pun intended. With the that whole suggestiveness of, maybe what if she will choose Jacob in the end. And I gotta admit, I think when I read it, I was a little nervous at first when I was reading. I was like, oh my god, what if she does choose Jacob? Because I was Team Edward. I was one of those people who loved Edward. Fortunately, now I realize how messed up Edward is, and Jacob is not much better, or at least the way he was changed in book 3 into book 4. And I get what people did not like about the whole imprinting and all that. I guess that came off as a little bit weird. But anyway, we're not talking about that. I only brought it up because I feel like a love triangle would benefit. And, like, I'm talking a real love triangle where we wouldn't know who she would choose. Although I would have to change the ending, though, if I ever did a retelling, because then it's like, or what could happen, I just got an idea of how I could do it, where I could keep the ending, but um, like where she doesn't, where you still didn't know if she really loved the guy she ended up with or not. That'd be interesting. That would be an interesting retelling. Or like or I could just not do a retelling, just do something that seems similar to it, but not. I don't know. I would love to do it, but I don't know if I could do it. But I mean, I would appreciate. And plus, I'm someone who I want to be an author, but I'm not. I guess I don't want it enough to really push myself to sit down and write. I just get distracted way too easily. But like I said, I would love to do it. What's this? Oh, speaking of, this was actually one of the books I got from Black Castle Bookstore. I think. I've been meaning to buy another copy, but I wanted to. I didn't want to buy another mass market copy because I was trying to get one that was bigger and not as many. Not as the print was a little nicer and brighter, and like because it's very, or I shouldn't say brighter, I should say darker. And just an easier size. Because I don't like. I mean, like I said, I don't have a problem with mass market paperbacks. I mean, I used to buy them all the time, and they're cheap, and they're small, so I can fit them in my bag easily. But I'm just getting into more of these bigger books, these regular sized books, because they're bigger and, the print is better, and or at least in size, and it's just more appealing to read this size of a book rather than. So, like I said, I want to get this one done first. I want to get this one read first before for that one. So I was just reminded that I also wanted to read these two as well. The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, which this one has both stories in it, both novels. And I feel like this could cover the prompt of reading Victorian literature that was of your favorite modern genre. My favorite is fantasy. Although this one kind of could potentially apply to it, because you could argue that horror, as long as in the supernatural horror and science fiction horror, is like some subgenres of horror can be considered fantasy. And this is kind of a sci-fi fantasy story. Like I said, I feel, as much as I hate when people get them mixed up, they do blur. Fantasy and sci-fi do kind of blur. So this could technically apply. And like I said, this is definitely fantasy, because she goes down a rabbit hole into a fantasy world. And that's another one I have been meaning to reread, because the first time I read it, I was like, oh, this is just okay. And I prefer the on-screen adaptations, which I know, how dare I, that's blasphemous if you prefer adaptations over an actual book. But, yeah, so I've been meaning to read this. I totally forgot that this one and my copy of The Wizard of Oz was also, was one of the Barnes & Noble. I like these. I like the different colors for this one. And I think one day I will go back to the whole method of putting all the books that are of all the different editions of classics together, because I now have quite a few. So I totally forgot. And I also remember this one. I wanted to read this one as well. This is another one I wanted to reread, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, because when I first read it years ago with Therese, and I think my sister had joined us in that reading. At the time, I was like, oh, this is just okay. I wasn't super into it. and it was before, and I think I wasn't as well read when it came to like Victorian literature and classics. Like I had read some, and especially in school and stuff. And I wanted to, for the longest time, I did want to read more, but I hadn't read classics like this and that much. So I think that kind of made a little less appealing for me. So I've been wanting to reread it because last year for Victober we read some plays by Oscar Wilde. We read A Woman of No Importance and The Importance of Being Earnest. So, and I really enjoyed them. I thought they were very amusing and entertaining, and I want to read more plays, and that's when I got Heinrich Ibsen's work, and I read his play A Dollhouse, which I need to reread that, or at least look on SparkNotes, because I thought I'm still trying to pinpoint exactly what that one is, the message of that one, and what you can learn from that particular play. I mean, I think I do, but it's something that I need to talk about, or at least read about, so that I can put those thoughts at the forefront of my mind, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm someone who can't necessarily come to the conclusion on my own, but whenever, I talk to someone or read about it, or read, someone's article on it, then I'll be like, oh yeah, I see that, and oh, I get, But I've been wanting to reread this for a while, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And actually, the person I am reading, Therese, I'm reading a buddy read with her of Paradise Lost, and she is the one I did a buddy read of with this book. And I was hoping that maybe she would get the hint and see if I would be wanting to reread it with me. But we're on Paradise Lost right now, and I want to read it this month for Victober. And I know she is a bit more, she's busier than me. Her job, she's working every day. Like, my schedule's so sporadic that and I'm scheduled to work at different times throughout the day. Like, today was another 9 to 2. But tomorrow I'm working, but I'm not working until 4, and I don't get off until 8:45. So my schedule is a little bit different. I'm not as busy as her. But what's great is I'm not a student anymore, so all I have to do is go to work, do my work, do my job, whatever I have to do, whatever they want me to do at work, and then I can come home and I don't have anything else to do. Just do my daily activities, except for make a sandwich, because I like to bring a sandwich with me for a little snack, because I end up getting really hungry by in the middle of my my shift. So, in case you don't know, in this one, this is basically about this pretty young man who he's getting his portrait painted, and the artist has a bit of a crush on Dorian, and he decides to, he tells Dorian that he's really good looking, really pretty, and unfortunately, though, his looks will fade away as he gets older. So Dorian kind of makes a Faustian deal with it, and instead of him aging, the portrait will age, especially whenever he does anything that is sinful and horrible, then it will show on his portrait. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people encouraging him to be this way, to continue to be bad. What I should do? I always ignore the little thing in the beginning of the introduction, because they're always so long. The little, in the introduction. And I should also look at the timeline too. There's a little bit of a timeline. Yeah, introduction. I should read it, but I always skip it because they're so long. I'm like, I just want to get to the story. I don't care about what this person says about the author. But I'm sure it would really help if I did read it. Help me comprehend a little bit better. Um, so and I've already kind of showed you guys my TBR for Victober. Did I? I don't remember if I showed you. Did I? I'm trying to remember if I showed you guys that I recently, my most recent. I don't think I did. My most recent, my book purchases that I finally was able to go to the roast office. I was very happy about that. So I only got one 21st century work of literature. I got 3 classics, and that is the story, the actual fiction, the modern literature I got was The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. I think I've seen this on. I want to say Olive from Book Olive. I think I've seen this on her shelf, or like she read this book or did a review. I'll have to check and see if that's true. But I did read chapter 1 and got to chapter 2. I want to start. Oh crap! I lost it. I need to put a bookmark in here anyway. And so our main character. Let me see. It was set in 1972, and our main character lives in Amsterdam with her dad. Her mom died when she was born, and her dad is, like I said, he's a diplomat, and he goes on these diplomatic missions. So she gets to live her life and go to school in Amsterdam, but she wants to spend time with her dad and go with him to all these different countries. And when she finds a mysterious book with, I think, a letter in there, if I remember correctly. Yeah, a letter. And it makes her curious, she's intrigued by it and she asks her dad, she's afraid to ask her dad because she doesn't want to get in trouble for snooping. But she asked him if she can accompany him to his latest diplomatic mission, which is in Rome. And then eventually, when they get there, she finally gets the courage to bring it up to him that she, went in the library and looked at the book, and she asked him about it, and he gets all of a sudden not necessarily mad at her, but very, upset a little bit, and, he was afraid that she would one day come across it. Which that's actually one of my best, because normally, when I start a book, I don't really remember. Although historical fiction is one of the easier genres to, do a description. It's fantasy that gets really hard. Which, by the way, I was able to squeeze in to finish another book in September. But, to be fair, I started the book in August, and that was Assassin's Quest. I ended up finishing it right on the last day of November, on the 30th. So I was very happy about that. I'm very excited. But I like her writing, and I like these kinds of stories. I like the idea that I don't ever read them. When I get them at the roast office bookshop, I look up the reviews and read them. I don't just look at the rating, but I actually read the reviews, the 3 stars reviews and the more negative reviews. And they end up, and sometimes they end up making me change my mind about the book. But sometimes I feel guilty about them. I feel like maybe I should decide for myself first to read it. But the problem is I have so many books, that I run out of space and I have to eventually get rid of some. I have to donate. I shouldn't use the phrase get rid of, but I should say donate them. And it gets to the point where it gets really hard. And some of the books I've just bought will end up being donated again because it's like, I end up thinking, I'm no longer interested in this book, or a lot of people there are people that have given it negative or lukewarm reviews, so I don't know if I want to waste time reading something I'm not gonna, but then a lot of people I know would probably tell me that, well, you should read it first to decide for yourself, but, it's like, do you really, I don't necessarily have the time, I don't have the space. I should say, not the time. I should say I don't have the space because I have more time than most people do, but I don't have the space. But I went ahead and decided to go ahead and read the first chapter. I'm gonna read a little bit more, but I might not read it until next month because, like I said, this is Victober, and it's also the spooky season, so I want to read some spooky books. Okay, so there's that one. And now the other 3 books are all classics. First is, like I said, I love the Barnes and Noble classics collection. But I got this. I've gotten more and more into Jane Austen, and especially since I've listened to a couple of her books on audiobook via Libby. So I've been kind of the ones that I've liked that I really enjoy. I put 2 of them in a certain edition on my Amazon wish list. So hopefully I'll get those for Christmas. And that is Emma and Mansell Park. Because I was not a big fan of, I need to reread it, but I was not a big fan of Persuasion. Not a lot happened. But maybe I'll get that one from the library because the library is open. Since it's connected to the roast office is open, the library is open. I think that's how it would work. So I'm gonna go to the library at some point. So I might buy Persuasion, or not borrow Persuasion and reread it. See if I still feel the same way. But yeah, I put Emma and Mansell Park because I love both those. And then I went ahead and bought this copy of Pride and Prejudice. Like I had my sister has an older copy of the book, Pride and Prejudice, but it's a bit old. So there's the risk of pages falling out. Because I love vintage looking books, but I want to make sure that if I buy a vintage book, a book that's not, that's actually older, that the pages will not fall out on me. So, so I decided to go ahead and rebuy a copy of Pride and Prejudice, because I did enjoy it, and it's I am with everybody else on Pride and Prejudice. It's great, and the romance is I love the romance. So I bought this copy, and I love this. I'm not always a fan of the screen, but in certain things like on the book covers, some book covers, and then on clothes, I like mint green. Which is it's so interesting how I am with colors. Like, I like them on objects, like books and stuff, and pillows occasionally, but I don't always like them on clothes, and sometimes I do like them on clothes. I can be a little bit picky with my colors. But I also like having a bunch of different versions of these editions in different colors. That's why I just love the color of these Barnes & Noble ones. Which, I wonder when bookstores, chain bookstores, how do they decide how their classics are going to look? Because Books A Million, I think, also has their own, I think the Arctis publishing house is theirs, is Books A Million's. So how do they decide? Because Barnes & Noble, this is a Barnes & Noble collector. So I don't know how they decide. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to reread this. Now that I have my own copy, now I'll borrow my sister's. Although she doesn't really read, I don't know if she really ever is going to read any of her books. Because she doesn't have a huge collection like I do. But she doesn't have time to read. And I feel like, as I've always said, I don't think it's because, I think for a lot of people, it's like you don't have, once you get out of the habit of reading, you don't have the motivation to read, and then you come up and make up excuses like, oh, I don't have time to read. And I think that in the case of my sister, yeah, I think she does, I think, I'm not saying it's not legit, because she has 3 kids, a baby, one that was just born, so she's still a baby, and then, 3 months old, actually, and then a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, 5 or 3-year-old, I think he's 3. I think he just turned 3 this summer. A 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So yeah, I do believe that she doesn't have time, but I think there are ways to work around that. I mean, her college roommate, Wings, also, Wendy, also has a little baby, a little kid, and a little toddler. So she's pretty busy too. I mean, she doesn't have as many kids as my sister, obviously, but although I think they're going for a second child, I think. But she reads a lot, which was a nice surprise. It's also weird because she's my sister's friend, and we're not. It's not like we're tight or anything. It's like, oh, we're friends because you're my sister's friend. So, But I found out she's a reader, which that kind of made me very excited. And so she uses audiobooks, and that's what I always tell my sister, that she could use audiobooks, but she never does. She never gets around to it. She might read a few like nonfiction works, especially if they do with helping her with the kids, teaching her how to, with the kids and stuff. But anyway, so I love this color on the book. It's so pretty. It makes me think of spring. So when I reread this, I'm gonna wait until like March or April for this one, I think. Although you never know, I might get the urge to all of a sudden read it. Okay, so there's that one, and then the other two are... Okay, so I saw this one, and I don't even remember anyone talking about, I'm sure that Katie or Kate or Lucy mentioned, or even like Olive or someone mentioned this, but I just saw this, Lady Anna by Anthony Trollope. And I have read his first 2 books, and the Barsetshire series. I still cannot pronounce it, and I want to read Dr. Thorne soon. I could read it for Victober, but I'm gonna wait until November to read it. But I do need to read that one soon. But yeah, I saw Anthony Trollope, so I decided to get it. I was like, I'm gonna hit this up. I'm gonna go ahead and get this one. Hence why I only got one modern fiction. And when I say modern, one that was published today. That was written and published today. So I don't know what this is about. Like, I kind of like to follow Katie from Books and Things philosophy about not reading the backs of books. I think Kate Howe also says this too, that with classics, they recommend you don't read the back of books, because then it kind of gives it away when it comes to classics. So I think they're assuming that you read them because these are older books. But, I mean, I personally, I got into classics real late in life. I was intrigued by them, and we studied them in school and stuff, but in school I wasn't as big of a fan. I just wanted to read modern literature. I feel like when I was back in school and stuff, I read a lot of, there were, my reading life back when I was a teenager, I feel like it mostly consisted of Harry Potter, Twilight, and House of Night series, which is also a vampire series. Oh, and I read The Secret Circle, too. Which is so weird. I just feel like I only read those books. And occasionally I read some other books. Like I said, with, school, we had assigned reading. But, although, in school I don't remember hearing anything about Trollope. So, like I said, I'm not going to read the back. I keep turning over to look, but I'm not going to read the back. But I do want to... Which is this considered? It's so funny, because I feel like it's a little bit bigger than a mass market. But I think it was considered a mass market edition. This is an Oxford World Classics. So were these published in Oxford? I guess there's a publishing company in Oxford, maybe. So like I said, I don't have anything to tell you other than I'm looking forward to reading this at some point. I just don't know what it's about, and it's by Anthony Trollope. And the last one I bought from the used bookstore, the Roast Office used bookstore, was The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. I finally got it. This is one I heard a lot about from Katie and Kate Howe, and even I think Olive from Book Olive. I know one of Wilkie Collins' book is her favorite, and I think is Olive's favorite, and the other one she has mixed feelings on. But I think this one is her favorite, I want to say. And this also was the first, I've heard that this was the first detective story where Arden introduces a detective character. So this must have been written before Sherlock Holmes, before Arthur Conan Doyle wrote that one, I think. I'll have to look that up just to check. And yes, it's unabridged. I love when they say that because although so far I don't think I've ever come across any abridged editions since I was a kid. And I think if they're pretty chunky, they're going to be unabridged. But the last time I came across was, like I said, I had a copy of Les Mis that was abridged and I didn't even know it. And then I had those illustrated classic books, those kid versions of classics. They were like chapter books. They were like probably 5th grade level. 5th grade going to middle school, maybe a little bit younger, I don't know, but it took the basic story and was on it, it was abridged and everything, so I did not realize that, and I didn't think about that until recently, but those are editions I would love to get the boys, and the girl, and baby girl Charlie, and Harrison and Daniel, I'd love to get those for them, and I know that the used bookstore has them, so one day I will buy them for them. And I would love for it to get to the point where they always ask for one, and then Jesse has to tell them, "You guys, you can't expect your aunt to give you books all the time." I'd love for it to get to that point. Okay, so last thing is I want to show you guys the books I got from Thrift Books. Like, so far with Thrift Books, I've been pretty lucky, but like I said, I got really nervous that I wasn't getting because I'm thinking, what was the point of spending a little bit of extra money? And yeah, my mom was right, it's really not that much because it's Thrift Books. But still, what was the point of spending extra money and picking a certain edition if you're not going to get that one? The problem is I clicked on the link to the edition, but then it wouldn't show me that edition that I ordered. And that made me nervous. And I've been looking at the reviews, and people say it doesn't always come in great condition. Sometimes they smell, which I should check. I should check and see if they smell. Does it smell like smoke or anything? Oh, and, and then, like, also people have said that they're, you might not get the book the specific one you asked for, and so got nervous because what would be the point of ordering the collector's editions of books if you're not going to get that one and spending that money. So first, I finally have all 3 books in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, so now I can start that trilogy, which I probably won't start right away. I'll probably wait until November or December to start that one. I think I might make December a fantasy month. I think I kind of did last year. In fact, like last year, I even attempted to booktube. December, Dragon December or something. But anyway, but I did not want this edition. I wanted a different edition, but this is the one I got. This is the second book, The Mad Ship. This is such an 80s cover. This feels so 80s. I mean, you can tell with the guy, the shirtless man with the 6-pack, that it just feels very 80s, and I have mixed feelings about 80s covers. Like, on the one, like, I have very mixed feelings on, these kinds of covers. On one hand, I feel a little like, oh, it's so 80s. That's so adorable. On the other hand, it's like, it's so tacky. you can so see how dated it is. But see, this is what I was talking about. So see, these pages are, if you can tell, they're a little bit folded. So not exactly a dog ear, but they're a little like they probably got folded. Like maybe they were a dog ear before and it just got worse. Like I don't know if you can tell, but like when it got yeah, they don't smell like mine. Don't smell like smoke. I mean, it's funny because I was reading those reviews. I was like, I don't have those problems, but like I said, reading those reviews did not help. It made me even more nervous. But so now I have all 3 books. Which Ship of Magic, Mad Ship, and Ship of Destiny. Although I get nervous, I'm like, do I have it? Do I actually have one? And then like, which I wanted to look it up. The description, since I finished with Farseer Trilogy, I figured it wouldn't hurt to at least look at the description of the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy, because fits in the full trilogy, so it's actually called the Tawny Man trilogy, and that's, like I said, that's the story that fits in the full, which I am so glad, because the full is, I think, my favorite character. He reminds me of Rumpelstiltskin from the Once Upon a Time version. Although, I just realized when I was reading that book, I was thinking he was older. The Fool was. He was older, like he was an adult compared to Fitz, but he's actually, I think, Fitz's age, or at least, maybe, if he is older, he's not that much older, like, a young adult. So I did not realize that he was alive, that he was not like a grown man, a full-grown man. He was, so I'll have to, but, like I said, I'm going to look up the Tawny Man trilogy and at least look at the descriptions. So now I have to get that book, which I think, as of right now, Books and Lane does have all those books. But the problem is I hold off on getting some books from some series, and then it turns out it's not there anymore by the time I decide to get it. And that's what I'm worried is going to happen with what's it called? That Brandon Sanderson, the Mistborn Second Era. I'm worried that it's not going to, although that's on my Amazon wish list, so hoping that someone will see that that's one of my more important purchases. One of my important things I want, books I want. But yeah, I got this one. See, this is what, in this kind of started me on my concern that I won't get the editions of classics I wanted, because this was not the one I was expecting to get. And the first time that happened, I was like, oh, okay, I can live with that, and this one, I can live with this edition, I'm fine with it. It's not the end of the world, which is what my mom said I was acting like yesterday, when I was all, upset about, not getting the exact editions of classics, which I know some of you might potentially roll your eyes at me for that, but, I'm spending a tiny bit more money. I know it's thrift books, it's not that expensive, it's like, I spent like $20, but still, I used a little bit more money. I did not sell for like the $4.99 book version. I wanted the nicer cover, these nicer editions, but which I will show you those in a minute. But in this case, with books like this, with modern fantasy books, I can live with these kinds of covers. I mean, I definitely see the appeal, and I like the UK versions of these books with the title, and they're kind of beige color, and there's the title, and it's written in like Old English. I really love those. I would love to get those, but I don't know if you will get them. I think I would have to go to a special site like Book Depository or Book Outlet. Although I think Book Outlet is on the outs right now. I think people are not happy with Book Outlet right now. But Book Depository. I think on Book Depository you can get those editions. So at the moment I'm sticking with thrift books, but maybe someday I'll sign up for a Book Depository. But anyway, so like I said, I'm happy with this one, but I gotta admit, it's not the one I had I was thinking I was gonna get, but that's okay. I'm just relieved that I actually got the editions of the classics I wanted. So I got these lovely editions. So first is Hard Times by Charles Dickens. I'm slowly getting all of his books. I'm slowly collecting them, and I don't know much about which. It's kind of funny because on some of those reviews they did mention that sometimes you get library editions of books. You get a library one, and I was like, and so I open this and I see that it's the edition I want. So I'm all excited and stuff, but then I see that look, it's a library edition. It is a library edition because like on the it has this, how every library has. That's how they organize their books with the authors. And then this, the stamp, that infamous stamp that they have on the top of the book. So this is June. This was published in June. This was at the library in June 3rd, or borrowed, I guess, June 3rd, 2013. I think that is. It's unfortunately faded the year, but this is from Hamilton Public Library. I'm guessing what they do is that the library will give some of their books to the company or the warehouse or whatever. I wonder if we have one in North Carolina. If we have a Thrift Books warehouse. I don't know. So far I don't think any of the books I've read from Thrift Books have been from North Carolina. I don't think. I'll have to double check that. But these books always come from nowhere, so in case you haven't heard, although if you're a classics reader, you probably have heard these editions, but the Penguin English Library editions. I love these covers. There's the little bit of orange, but it's not orange. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those orange books. Those orange and yellow books, or the black. I do like the ones that have the black banner. I'm okay with those because usually there's a picture in the middle. I don't like, and granted the orange ones have the picture too, but I don't know, they're so just generic. They look generic to me. What I like about these ones is the picture that, like, the image, the symbol that kind of represents what's in the book. I love that. So see this one. But I'm gonna so I want to get more of these. It's just really hard because some of the ones are books that I already have, and I almost want to buy an edition of this, but I can't bring myself to do it. I feel really guilty about it. Maybe one day if I'm not living at home and I don't have my, I don't have my mom like making me feel guilty that I'm spending money because she wants me to be careful with money, and the way she's raised me is made me like hesitant to thinking, no, I already have a copy of that, so I don't need to buy another copy. Although, like I said, I've gotten more into buying the regular size books and getting rid of the mass market copies, especially Charles Dickens books. And I also have the Barnes & Noble, those Barnes & Noble leather-bound books. But I love this. What I'm gonna do is take a picture of it and show Terry from Florida, because they told her I would show it to her. And then there is this. I'm so excited about this. First of all, I grew up with Christmas Carol. My dad was the Ghost of Christmas Present. The guy in the green robe, and he's like, "Come, men, know me better." And he had all the food and stuff, and he shows what everybody's doing for this Christmas and everything, and then he has the two kids that represents ignorance and want in his robes, but anyway. So I remember, and so A Christmas Carol's always been a part of my life. I think it's been a part of a lot of lives growing up. Like, there's so many different versions of it. There's the Disney one with Mickey Mouse and Goofy and and Donald and all those characters, and with Scrooge McDuck is Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. And then they have the most recent Disney version, which is the computer generated one starring Jim Carrey as all the voices of the character, and most of the characters or at least all the male characters. Well, except for, I guess, not all of the male characters, but like the ghost and stuff, and Scrooge himself. And then you have the black and white movie with, I can't remember the actor's name, which I actually have not seen that one. I've seen bits and pieces of it. And then there's the one with Sir Patrick Stewart as Scrooge. And then there's A Christmas Carol the musical, starring Kelsey Grammer and the guy from Rent, and Jane Krakowski from 30 Rock. And although I know her from Notting Hill, and I know she played Betty Rubble in Viva, the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. And I'm trying to think who else is in that one. I can't remember. And then there's the Muppet Christmas Carol. So there are so many different versions, and so most people are very familiar. And then there's, of course, the play. Oh, and then there's, I think, Carol's Christmas, which is like, Carol's Christmas, which is a woman who's playing the Scrooge character. And then last year, or a couple years ago, not last year, a few years ago, there was a book, I think it was YA, where again we had a main character. The Scrooge character was a woman, but it was kind of a retelling of the story where, like, basically this woman, it's a whole business, the whole Scrooge thing and seeing the three ghosts, and it doesn't work on her, so she's forced to become a ghost of Christmas, and she has to help the other Scrooge, other Scrooges like her, and she ends up falling for her assignment, which I've not read, but if it's at the library, I might get it. The Afterlife of Holly Chase, that's what it's called. So I might, if it's at my library now that our library is open, although who knows what's going to happen this winter. I mean, I hate to think about it, but I think because it's going to be cold and everything, it's going to get, it's going to get worse before it gets better with the whole pandemic and everything. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but that's what I heard on the news recently. So hopefully that won't happen. But anyway, so I don't know but either way, I don't know what's going to happen. And if my, knock on wood, if I'm right, then the library and the books are probably going to be closed again for a few months, or at least this winter, which I hope is not the case. And people, I guess, are going to do their Christmas shopping online if that's the case. Knock on wood. But anyway, this is so pretty. First of all, it's purple. And everything, and it would be nice to have this, and then the purple pages, and it'll be so nice to have this kind of copy, because this will be so much easier to travel with. I mean, that has been partly my goal also, is to get books that are more portable, and some of my classic, and I have books that are not, I have Charles Dickens, Shakespeare, Anne Rice, and Poe, and Jane Austen, in big omnibus bind-ups, the leather-bound books, and those aren't that portable. They're harder to travel with. I mean, I could technically travel with them, but they're heavy and big. They're huge, and I cannot, I would end up only being able to bring one of them, and, which, yeah, I mean, it's all of their work in one big thing. Well, not in Dickens' case. Dickens is not all of his work, but, I'm looking over at them right now. In his case, it's not all of his work, it's some of his novels. But, actually, I think Hard Times is in that collection. Hard Times, Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, A Tale of Two Cities, and David Copperfield are in that collection. And now I have all paperback editions of those. But, yeah, I mean, it would take me a lot. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, because it would be a lot of reading, but it's, like I said, I want an individual book that is, I can hold like this. It's easier to hold. It's not as uncomfortable, to hold. So, and like I said, I see editions like this on people's, in people's collections, and I get very envious and greedy and material, and I can be a bit materialistic person, and at least when it comes to books, I like these kinds of editions. So I try to be like, oh, I don't care, but if I get an opportunity to get these kinds of editions, then I'm gonna take it up on that opportunity. This is probably my favorite one. First off, I'm a sucker for purple, particularly darker purple. This color purple, but I'm a sucker for this color. So I thought it was great, and also I did not realize it also includes this one. It isn't just the reason, it isn't just a Christmas Carol, but it's also the chimes and the Haunted Man, which I hear a lot about from like people like Katie from Books and Things. So I thought about reading them, and I did recently, a few months ago, like I borrowed from the library a book with Dickens' short stories, but then I got them and I was kind of disappointed by them, and that was because I'm used to novels. So, it was kind of like I'm cool. I like novellas. I like the idea of novellas instead of short stories. With short stories, I've talked about this before, that my opinion on short stories is mixed. So I think I might have ruined this part a little bit because it did look like it was kind of dirty. So I tried to wipe it down with a washcloth, with a wet cloth, and I think I kind of ruined this part a little bit. But it still looks so pretty, and that's just a small part of it, where the title is. So I love having this, and like I said, I have the other ones, and I want to one day read A Christmas Carol to the kids. One Christmas, when I see them, I would love to read it to them. But I know that right now they need books with pictures in them, and this book does not. I don't think this book has pictures, or it just has like. I know some of Dickens' books have pictures in them, but they're like black and white drawings usually. So this probably wouldn't be fun, even if there is an actual picture. It wouldn't be fun for the kids. But one day when they're a little bit older, and they, I would love to read One Christmas. And I believe there's his other works are also in, because it's A Christmas Carol, A Tale of Two Cities, David Copperfield, Great Expectations, Hard Times, and Oliver Twist are all in this edition. So I thought about it. Like I thought about getting it, getting the Hard Times version of this. But you know what? I wanted to start collecting these, and this was my latest Dickens I was interested in buying. So I bought this. So I decided to buy this. Okay, I'm going to stop talking because I want to get a run in. I'm going to get a run in before my mom gets home. But I figured it would be okay because with the dogs and everything. Although, I just realized I should probably let them out first. So I might have to skip my run today because unfortunately, with dogs like hanging out right around outside, and so Rascal might hang out outside. Or what I could probably do is see if my mom's on her way home and ask her if it's okay to leave Rascal running around outside. Or do I need to bring him in? Because we have a doggy flap, a little doggy door. I like to call it the doggy flap. So anyway, that's what's going on right now, and I'm so happy I got the ones I wanted. I almost wish a small part of me almost wishes that I didn't get them because it will justify my frustrations and fear. Even fear, I think, is a bit much, about my anxiety yesterday that I wasn't going to get the editions I wanted, because I know deep down I do know I was probably making a big deal out of nothing. But it just, reading those reviews and everything got me panicking, because it was like, I spent the money. I specifically asked for those kinds of editions. I wanted those, and it was like, what's the point of picking those specific ones if they're not going to give you those specific editions? I keep skipping the reviews, but reviewing the site, but I should put a review. I just don't know what to say in the review. The exact words, but I read other people's reviews, and I could probably come up with something. But anyway, so yeah, I know that it's probably overreacting. I got him, so I'm happy either way, and you know, I will show him. Maybe she'll have maybe understand a little teeny tiny bit. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe she would be a little more sympathetic to my being, because I think those are really nice, and I think it's, and they're paperback, so. Anyway, so that is what's going on in Jackie's Literary Corner. If you guys, as always, if you guys are participating in Victober, feel free to let me know in the comments on what you're reading right now, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and washing your hands, wearing your mask, and doing your part and to help what's going on in our community and all the horrible things that are going on. Not just the pandemic, but also the Black Lives Matter movement. And and I hope you're finding yourself able to read. I know back in the beginning of this, there were a lot of people that just couldn't bring themselves to read. So I hope you're, a lot of people now are still being able to enjoy reading. And again, I hope you're participating in Victober. If you like if you enjoy Victorian literature. And I will talk to you all later. All right, bye.